What's up, y'all? It's Emile Ennis Jr. back here with Clevver News, and one Little Mix member is calling out the media for constantly mixing her up with one of her fellow bandmates due to the color of their skin. For those who don't know, Little Mix is a British girl group that formed in 2011 on The X Factor. Harry Edwards, Jessie Nelson, Leigh-Anne, and Jade Thirlwall individually auditioned for the 8th series of the British version of X Factor. The four were put together and actually won the series, signing with Simon Cowell's label Psycho Music. The group has put out 5 studio albums and been the headliners for 6 tours, but despite having been a group for 9 years and their major success, the media still mixes up some of their members. Jade and Leigh-Anne are both women of mixed race and are constantly mistaken for one another. Jade recently spoke out about her heritage on the No Country for Young Women podcast. On the show, she touched on how she hasn't always been comfortable talking about her background, especially when she first joined Little Mix.
I feel like there's been a slight element of maybe like when I first entered the group, because I was kind of bullied quite badly in school for the colour of my skin and for being Arab as such. I kind of wasn't very proud of who I was, and I think when I entered the group, I kind of subconsciously didn't really want to talk about my heritage or what my background was.
Part of why Jade felt uncomfortable in her skin goes back to how she was treated in school. She said, quote, "When I was at school, if I was ever bullied for the color of my skin, I'd get so confused as I'd be like, well, I'm not from Pakistan. I remember one time I got pinned down in the toilets and they put a bendy spot on my forehead. It was horrific." Jade continued, "When I went to secondary school, I was literally one of 3 people of color in the school. It was a very predominantly white Catholic school. I went through a lot in the first 2 years of secondary school. In hindsight, I probably would have just rather gone to school where I would fit in more. I have constantly had this inner battle of not really knowing who I am or where I fit in or what community I fit into." Jade also touched on how she wanted to make sure she was educated in knowing what she was saying when it came to race. She said, quote, "Even now, I am constantly learning what the right things are to say, and I would hate to talk about my race and my heritage and not say the right thing." Well, Jade is speaking out after one media outlet posted a picture of Leigh-Anne instead of her for an article about her podcast appearance, talking about the racism she faced in school. On her IG story, she said, quote, "MSN, if you're going to copy and paste articles from other accurate media outlets, you might want to make sure you're using an image of the correct mixed race member of the group." She followed up the message with a lengthier post saying, "This happens to Leigh-Anne and I all the time that it's becoming a running joke. The amount of interviews where we get mixed up, I couldn't count how many photographers or journalists over the years that have shouted for one of us on set, and when we've walked over, they've said, 'Oh, you're Jade,' and awkwardly brushed it off as it's a simple mistake when we both really know why. I've even had, 'Oh, sorry, you look similar.' Really? I'm with us just having to laugh it off now." Jade continues saying, quote, "It's lazy journalism. It's ignorant. It's rude. It offends me that you couldn't differentiate the 2 women of color out of 4 members of a group. There's even images of me in the article followed by an image of Lee as if they couldn't tell we're not the same mixed race person. Do better." Leigh-Anne also took to Instagram over the weekend to express her feelings on race and her struggles in Little Mix, with many talking about race following the George Floyd protests.
"My reality is feeling anxious before fan events and signings because I always feel like I'm the least favoured. My reality is constantly feeling like I have to work 10 times harder and longer to mark my place in the group because my talent alone isn't enough."
With that powerful message, we here at Clevver also want to make sure we're doing our part by linking some resources and places to donate in the description below, as we will continue to cover these important stories and have these conversations around race. Also, if you have a few extra minutes, please take a moment to click right over here to find out why the Black Lives Matter movement is so important to us here at Clevver, and also feel free to share your thoughts on Jade calling out the media in the comment section below. I'm your host, Emile Ennis Jr. Bye, guys.